Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Craig Patterson for DS Sports as always. Yes, it has been a very long time since I've been uploading to the channel. It's got to be getting on for 2 months now. I'm really sorry I've not been uploading as much. It has been a little bit of a iffy time. I've had a lot of things going on with work. I've also been on holiday as well, and it's been, you know, I've not been quite into the frame of mind to be uploading content, fingering content, going through the grind. It's just needing to be a couple of months just to try and try and recover my love for the game, recover my love for talking about football, talking about sport in general, and then thinking of content based around that. So I've taken a couple of weeks recently to figure out what I want to do next to the channel, because I've realised that perhaps it's maybe not the best idea to be like rounding up all these different leagues. Maybe, especially in Scotland, I'm doing that every week, and it just feels like I'm reading out names and scorers, and you can find that anywhere online. So I think maybe I'll try and maybe step away from that one. I might look at European leagues every so often, look at the Premier League as well. And obviously look around Scotland as well, but maybe not too much in depth. Maybe think about more talking points rather than thinking about just the general sort of week by week, what's going on, who's doing well, whatever, this, that and the rest of it. So I thought a little bit more about what I want to do, and I'm actually thinking about stepping away from just all of that stuff and maybe looking at just different things of the game, like whether it be some historical features of the game. I've actually thought of a new sort of series that I want to do, so I want to maybe do something about, you know, taking a nation and taking their greatest ever player and then headlining what that player's done for their country, what big achievements they've done through that era. Think about, you know, what their greatest features are, where that player's gone, what their biggest achievements are just as an individual player as well. So just thinking about, I'm thinking about titling a nation's greatest. So thinking, right, take a nation, perhaps thinking maybe sort of a small nation that doesn't regularly qualify for big tournaments, and saying, right, this team is qualifying and doing really well because of a player, or just even, you know, just a really small nation who has like a really great player. So I'm thinking the likes of, I don't know, George Weah from Liberia. Like, he was Ballon d'Or in 1995, I think it was. And from Liberia is such a really small nation. It's a nation that we don't really see as, you know, a big team, like a big footballing country. So that's another good one. I was thinking a bit more about Gareth Bale for Wales. Wales hadn't qualified for a tournament in nearly 60 years. From the 1950s to Euro 2016, they've also just qualified for Euro 2020. And I'm thinking about Gareth Bale. He's been the biggest star, one of the biggest stars in world football, and he's done a huge amount for Welsh football as well, scoring big games and big tournaments, along with maybe Aaron Ramsey as well. But Gareth Bale's certainly been the headline name from that country. Other players you can maybe look at, I don't know. I mean, you could easily look at Ronaldo from Portugal. Portugal went a really big football, and they were a good nation, don't get me wrong, but until the turn of the century they weren't really doing much, especially when you, in a period between sort of the mid-60s and the 2000s, you know, because obviously I had Eusebio back in the day, and now with the likes of Figo, you know, Gomes, Rui Costa, Cristiano Ronaldo, players like that, they've not really done that well, and obviously won Euro 26, they've done well in that period since the turn of the century. So it's maybe something like that, maybe not so much like that. I'm thinking about more like just standout players. Like you got Haj from Haj from Romania, I think it's from Romania. Like, Romania weren't a big country, and then Haj came on, and Haj is a big name, and he's now got a son who's playing really well for Romania as well. So look at maybe someone like him. I don't know, thinking about Haris Stoichkov from Bulgaria. He was somebody who played for like Barcelona in the late 90s, early to mid 90s. You know, played in that really big team under Johan Cruyff, and he did a really good job for Bulgaria as well, trying to bring them to big tournaments. Excuse me, guys. And things like that, and just sort of these kind of different things, you know. Teemu Pukki from Finland, like Finland, I mean, but maybe not even so much Teemu Pukki, but even like Jari Litmanen. Jari Litmanen's a world class player back in the mid '90s. I think he was part of the team that won the Champions League with Ajax in '95. So under Louis van Gaal. So someone who was a big part of Louis van Gaal's sort of philosophy of the 3-4-1-2 and playing as a 10 and this kind of stuff. So even just players like that, like just some like players who have stood out. Zlatan from Sweden. Like Sweden weren't, I mean, they were all right in the late '80s or early '90s, but they weren't overly great. And Zlatan's the biggest name in Sweden, so it's just one of these things that I might just have a look at and see what happens there. Another thing I was thinking about doing was just looking at maybe some of the greatest managers in history as well. So I'm thinking, I've really looked at more towards like the historic periods, like the most influential periods of football. Like who were the big managers who inspired the greatest, you know, teams of not even the modern era as much, like maybe like 90s onwards, but certainly before that. Who were the big managers? You're looking at the likes of Bela Gutman, who was a Holocaust survivor, who overcame, you know, personally just a lot of stuff that happened through the Holocaust period. Played for KOF Vienna, the big Austrian side in the mid-20s, pro-Zionist side. And then after that, once he got through the war, he went to all kinds of teams. Went to Brazil, won the Paulista with Sao Paulo, and then came back to Europe, went to Porto, then went to Benfica, and then was the first manager to topple the great Real Madrid side of the late 50s with the likes of Di Stefano, Puskás, all these kind of players as well. So that's just to name two. So he was the first manager to win the European Cup for a team other than Real Madrid. So probably look at the likes of him. He was very influential. He was probably the most charismatic, one of the most formidable managers we've ever seen. So he was probably the first one that thought of the third season being fatal, which is something you'd now associate with the likes of Jose Mourinho and some of the world's greatest managers as well. So someone like Bela Gutman, certainly Rinus Michels, who was a big sort of pioneer of total football. Obviously they're very free flowing, high pressing, very hard to predict 4-3-3 formation. Also kind of wasn't really a 4-3-3 so much. Certainly Rinus Michels was a big part of that. Had Johan Cruyff in his team. We'll probably look at Johan Cruyff as well, who was obviously, we all know about Johan Cruyff. Other managers, maybe like Helenio Herrera, who's one of the big pioneers of Catenaccio. Obviously probably the exact opposite of total football. There's a lot of sort of debate as to what was the more you know, the most winning formation, or from winning system between Catenaccio and total football between the late 60s and early 70s, that kind of stuff, and that kind of changed through the late part of that through the later parts of the 70s as well. So we'll probably look at all these kind of managers, and then maybe move it forward to the more sort of modern day managers, so like of Guardiola, Alex Ferguson, just general managers like that. Just trying to like detail what these managers did and how they became so good and so formidable and so memorable. So yeah, we'll look at things like that. Certainly on other sports sides, I'll probably keep it similar to what I do for boxing. Boxing is probably something that I'll probably stick to in that respect. It's going to be another sport that I talk about. We'll probably still talk about the Scottish national team as well. I'm probably going to drop another episode on just the most recent roundup, how the campaign has unfolded, what do we really think about the campaign, how do we really feel about it, have we done okay? We've certainly ended it on a high after 3 straight wins, and then probably look at when we get the semi-final draw for the Nations League playoffs as well, see who our opponents will be and where the strengths and weaknesses in these teams are. So we'll certainly have a look at that at some point. I'll probably think of other ideas along the way as well, guys. So it's obviously going to be a bit of a grind. I'm obviously going to be doing a lot more research. I've been like trying to do really well with the history. I've like really tried to invest myself in the history of world football, and it is genuinely fascinating just where these systems came from. Just the different, excuse me. Just where these systems came from, who the biggest managers were, and you know just how different teams played and who were the dominant teams of certain eras as well. So we'll certainly have a look at that, guys. We'll probably move on from that. We'll probably move on to that in the next week or so once I've done a good bit of research and found time to start filming these videos. But until then, guys, thank you very much for staying patient with the channel. Hope you come back and watch my future content, because I've got really good plans. I really want to expand my knowledge of the history of the game of football, and certainly stick to other sports as well, maybe even progress from that as well. So thank you very much, guys. I know it's been a very long time since I've been recording and uploading to the channel, so hope you come back for more. Hope you continue to like, comment and subscribe to the channel, and hopefully we'll get a good boost in the subscriber levels very soon as a result of this new content. So until then, guys, until the next one, probably in the national team, which I'll probably just record very, very soon. We'll see you guys very soon. Thank you very much.